We have a quorum. Hello, Mr. D. Glad you could join with us tonight for our meeting. Now that we have a quorum, once again, check your cell phones just to make sure that they're on the mute or silent position. And again, we welcome Rick Davis and welcome him once again to the committee. The first line item of our meeting tonight, though, would be to address the minutes from our last meeting in January. So everybody, I believe Marianne had sent everybody a copy of the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any additions or adjustments that we need to make, changes to the minutes from our last meeting? If not, I'd like to take a motion to approve those minutes. Got a motion from Mr. Davis and a second from Mr. Dickey. Any other discussion on that? If not, all in favor of that, say aye. Any opposed, like sign. The minutes are approved. Okay. Let's see something right here. The discussion items for tonight, I had asked that we put on here an update on our direct deposit that is going on with the employees. And Vicki, I think you may have some information for us on that as to where we are with, or Mr. Chambers does.
Yeah, we sent out an RFP for proposal, request for proposals to Wilson Bank and Trust and Citizens Bank. We got responses on both of those Monday, which was the deadline. And so we're going to, myself, Amy, and Ms. Carmen are going to look over those and make a recommendation of which bank to go with. So that's where we are right now. And there is a section in our personnel policy where it talks about paychecks. So until we get that settled out, we don't know exactly what that language is going to be, but I just want to let everybody know when we got to it, I was going to address that language is going to change once we pick the bank and work with them to see exactly how that's going to work.
Any thoughts as to a timeline as to when that would be, or we're just too far out?
We're looking to try to implement that and switch over, I think, in the first pay period in November.
Anybody on the committee got any additional questions on that direct deposit?
I'm sorry. On the response from Citizens Bank, is that going to carry over to First National Bank?
We haven't reviewed it yet, but that's one of the questions I asked. I ran into one of the representatives. I can't remember if it was at chamber luncheon or something. And the indication I got at the time is yes, it would, but that's something certainly we'll follow up on.
Next line item that we're looking at tonight, item B, is municipal code. It's like Title 4. Mayor Chambers, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, sir. The current Title 4 of the municipal code covers municipal personnel, and it has chapters that are divided for Social Security, personnel system, group insurance plan, occupational safety and health program, infectious disease control policy, travel reimbursement regulations, sexual harassment, narcotics, and intoxicating liquor. And all of these seem to be carried over from the town of Hartselle, so they haven't been changed. Whenever the county, as a municipal government, adopted these policies, this was not changed. So I just brought it to the attention. It doesn't require any action tonight, but whenever we get this lined out, probably need to make some changes there, whether it's referencing the policies we pass or if it's incorporated into the ordinance. That's something I think Mr. Beller was going to address, and he's not available pretty much on Thursdays. That's his court day, and he's got meetings tonight. So the next meeting we schedule, if we can do that for a Tuesday, he should be available.
Yeah, I think you bring up an important point that for years now we've had metropolitan government. However, if you don't go and make the necessary changes, they stay as are until the changes are made. So that's another step to mesh together what I think the goal was all along in the metropolitan scheme of things. And like I say, if you don't change it, it just sits there. So good point. Okay. Any questions on item B, municipal code? Anybody from the committee? Okay. Now, the next one in line item is C, is proposed changes to the personnel policy. And I want to reiterate that This last time we did this was 2017, and it took us quite a while to go through this. We had to ask help from or assistance from MTask at the state, and Mr. Gary Jaco came up, and we had multiple meetings. We had meetings with the people that are obviously on the committee that were commissioners. We also had department heads that were involved in the process. And I want to reiterate that as we go through this tonight, or start to go through this process, that at any point that any department head sees something that is of a concern or added comment, please do let us know, because that's how we did it this last time, because we didn't want to miss anything last time, and we certainly don't want to this time either. The last time that we did this, it took steps. Now this go around has been a little different. We've had a different group that has been working on this process and now is ready to present it to the committee. But I feel like it's going to take some time to go through these things, so like what we did last time. So, and we don't want to get in a rush on this because this affects all the different departments in the county. With that being said, I wanted to take just a minute, being that I've described what we did previously in 2017 and how we were going to probably end up mirroring that to a degree, but there are some things that are different this time, whereas the executive branch here has kind of taken the lead to, because they're seeing so many things have come up, the COVID and all the other things, and this is something that goes on all the time when you talk about personnel policies. There's always something new that pops up. So Mayor, if you want to take for just a couple of minutes, I'd like for you to kind of talk to us about the process that you all went through in terms of the changes in the policies that we're going to be looking at as we go forward.
Well, not long after I come in the office, we had some issues pop up, required interpretation on my part. And one of the things I'm hesitant about, if it's a personal opinion and not something that's written in policy, just cause I set a precedent don't mean somebody else will follow it, or vice versa. Maybe it's something I forgot about. And we've had several issues that pop up, and that's what we've tried to address in changing these. Almost every change is something that has popped up and been an issue at some time or another. As we did this, I worked with my staff, so my complete staff, that'd be Ms. Howard, Amy, and Renee Pridemore. We all worked on this in conjunction with Mr. Beller. And we also worked with the department heads and elected officials. We sent it to them after we got it in certain forms. We'd send it to them, get their feedback, make changes to it. And then while we were doing this, obviously COVID hit. And so that changed a lot of things. There's been a lot of changes, as everybody knows, in workforce and policy and all the stuff during COVID, and it's going to continue to go. We're trying to be proactive on some of this. So that's kind of the process we followed. Mr. Beller has reviewed this several times, worked with us for over probably a year and a half, I would imagine. Getting to this point, we've also talked to, I think CTAS and MTask, got input on that as we went through the process. Everybody thinks this is a good format. We got it into finally a form that we're really happy with. We think we've covered everything. So that we went ahead and submitted it to the committee so we can get going through the process. And we kind of waited here at the end to get it submitted along with the compensation study, because there's a section in here we put for compensation that we're suggesting to, whenever you pass your, whatever comes out of the county commission as a wage scale or wage scale, that it be attached as appendix A. That way you don't have to go into the body of this document and change it. You can just attach it as appendix. So we make reference to that, but that will be incorporated in the overall document when all that stuff's passed.
So you all did have state input as you went through this process. You said CTAS and MTask both had their eyes on it as well.
Yes, sir. We talked to them about different parts of it and worked with them along with Mr. Beller as we went through it.
Okay. Last time we did this and we got to the stage where we kind of are now, where we had put it in writing, and being that we're not going to finish this tonight, obviously. Some of the things we did last time that I would like to see if we can go and interject into this was that if there was any changes, that the old change was there and then our line was drawn through it. Because then you could see what was and what's being considered now. Does that make sense? I mean, that's what we did last time. Y'all remember that? It's been a while. It was 2017. I've slept since then, but as we looked at the document, that's how it was. And that was just something that I thought was really beneficial because you kind of knew where the change was and what it was. And, you know, all people kind of knew where we were before and where we were thinking about going. So I don't know how much that would require, but I think it would be good for the committee to be able to see it because last time it really helped out quite a bit. Any other committee members? Is anybody on that committee last time? Am I the oldest one? Dwight, you were.
I wasn't on the committee, but I was a department head, sat in on most of them at that point in time. That's kind of the way I remember. I know typically when you have bylaws changes, things of that nature in an organization, that's what you do. You'll take the existing wording and line through what's to be omitted and supplant or put beside it in a different color, whatever the wording that you're proposing. And I know what I see here has got the changes in red and the things that are added in red. The only thing I've got a question about is, first of all, was this done from that 2017 personnel policy? Is that the one that we went to and made all the model, used as the model to make these changes? Because I see some things that just in the first few pages that the wording in the 2017 that I have a copy of is not the wording that's in this new document. And that's kind of confusing me. I'm easily confused. This is the first I've had of the new one. I never received an email with this attachment. This is the first time I've had it to really look at. So I'm going to have to defer to a lot of people that have had it for a lot longer to look at and work with until I do have a time to really just sit down and compare it, you know, line by line. But I can see where that would be helpful, and I think that's the typical way things like this are done. I don't know that it, you know, would make that big a difference, but it would make a difference to me because that's the way I'm used to seeing it. But leave that to the thinking of the body at this point in time. I know a lot of work has went into this by a lot of people, and I certainly appreciate that effort without a doubt. And I'm not trying to throw buckets of ice water on it. I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding correctly.
I did check, and I do not think we've had any adjustments since the year 2017.
Yes, we did.
We have.
January of this year, you passed a COVID sick leave policy that went into this as
Okay.
well. So yes, 2017 was a basis as amended up through January of this year.
That was a smaller addition, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't a complete, so it wasn't a complete rewrite. It was just, we used what was current up through January with that change for the COVID-19 sick leave. And we also put the administrative leave back to what it was pre-COVID at that time. So that's current. That was the basis of this. We incorporated these
Right.
changes into that.
I guess where I'm going with that is the last time we did it as the way we're doing it now was 2017. So anything that's in black print is as they have been up to this point. Is that correct?
Well, there is one section that we went back and we're going over it earlier today that should have been red, that's black. And that's in talking about the volunteer fire department. That should have been red instead of
Okay.
black.
Okay.
And there's some grammatical errors here and there that we found as we were going through it.
And we'll run through that. Yes, okay.
But we can put the red line together, and it may take a couple of weeks because I gotta go back and do it all again. But we can certainly do that. I don't think that'll be an issue. Just gonna take a little bit of time.
Committee members, any other thoughts on that? That's just how we did it last time. To me, it was helpful, but now we got a lot of new committee members now, so.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. When I was elected in 2018 and I got put on this committee, I requested a copy of the policy. It had this same cover on it. The wording was different, but a lot of it was the same. So I don't understand why are we gonna make them go back and pull? We're not doing our job if we're not looking. All of us should know what the current policy is. And I don't understand why we're having to go back and
I
Their
don't,
proposed changes are in red.
I don't know. I don't know what all the current policies were. It would be like, just looking through it real quick, right here, like the very first one about regular, full, part-time, or full-time, and highlighted in red says 30 hours per week. What did it used to be?
Mhm.
Was it 28? Was it 40? For me looking through this, now I can get an old copy and set it home and look through it, and I don't have a problem doing that. But
Right.
if it's easy for them to just leave what the verbiage was, put a line through it, and then you put beside it then in red what you want it to be, then that's normally how you go through something like this, even in a union environment, which I'm used to. That's
See,
how you have to go through everything.
You got a multi-page document that you're having to refer back to another one that's formatted in a different way. It's just easier. You're looking at the one, you know what it was, what's wanting to be changed because it's lined out, and then what's being proposed that it be changed to, without having to refer back and forth. That's, I guess, if it was 2 or 3 pages, but when you're looking at a document that's this complicated, that affects this many people, it just makes it, if it were a few changes, I wouldn't be concerned. But since there's so many changes, I think it's just easier for us to see what those changes are. And then I think, like you say, you look at it, it says 30 hours. What was it? That's the question. So you got to go back and look in the other one to see what it was. And and I'm sure, like I say, that's just the first page, and that's already jumping out at us. I'm sure we're going to get into that more as it goes through it. I'm not trying to, like I say, it would just make the process, I think, it would make the process of us going through this a whole lot simpler and a whole lot quicker and a whole lot more accurate, in my opinion.
Makes it easier for you to approve. Especially if it's not that hard to do. And hey, see that sun? It normally gets me, so.
And again, that's why we had it this last time. So I understand what you're saying. And that's kind of why I brought that up. It would be a little helpful. Yes, there's different ways you can do this, but I think that would be, Vicky. Sorry. Do we need to do this in the form of a motion, or do we just need to ask her for this?
Just need to ask. I mean, like I said, it'll take us a couple of weeks probably to
I
do
understand.
it, but we can certainly do that.
Okay.
And if even where you see hours, it's changed from days, and that was something that the personnel committee voted on to recommend to the county commission before I ever took office. So we incorporated it into this version.
Okay.
One other thing, Mayor, on some of these things like that, if there's some way to just put a footnote and make note that was changed in ordinance so-and-so, such and such date, or if that's not a lot of trouble, if it's a lot of trouble, you can just tell us, but I just thought that might help this process speed along.
Well, we do have it. My version has comments on it, but when you print it out with the comments, the body of the document is so small you can't read it. So we might be able to just go back and put maybe a different color and put it in there that way.
Or even just footnote, just page and asterisk, and then you got to refer back to it. But I really think it can make this process. It's going to take time to do it now, but I think it's going to make the process a lot quicker.
Well, we know that we're going to have this as we go forward, but it's going to take a couple of weeks for that to be inserted. At this point in time, as we start to look at this, do we want to go ahead and go forward with some of this tonight, even though we don't have?
I would like to see us have it in the format that we're talking about personally.
Okay.
Also, we may want to not be meeting monthly on this. We may have to meet like every 2 weeks.
We
More
did do
often.
that in the past, did we not? I'm having the committee here wasn't here last time, and Dwight was, but department heads. I know I'm looking at some faces, a little scour, I'm sorry. But I do believe that at times we did meet more than once a month as we went through this process. Am I telling that right? Rita? But again, it's very important for the department heads to be able to be at these. We want to make it convenient for not just the committee members, as we know we're short a few tonight, but we also need the department heads to be there too, because they're part of this process. Because I want to make sure that anything that touches any of these departments, that department head is very well aware of the changes that are being proposed. I don't want anybody to later go, well, I didn't know they did that, if that makes sense.
Or
So,
even if you went every 3 weeks instead of once a month. I mean, I just think as labor intensive as it's gonna be, it's gonna be a very long drawn out process unless we can try to compress it.
okay. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Baker, Commissioner Coy? Anybody else want to comment on this? If we,
I think the department heads had already received the proposed changes, correct, Mayor? Had they received, the department heads, have they received
They
the
did.
proposed changes?
The department heads, elected officials received this first time April 2020. We talked about it, did some changes in, came back earlier this year after COVID started settling down, after we did changes in January, sent it back to them again, I think somewhere around March, April, somewhere around in there again. Met with them, did changes, submitted it to them again about May or so. So we've sent it out to them. They reviewed it several times and we've had meetings over it to go through the entire document. And we did incorporate some changes after those meetings. So they've had several opportunities to meet with it, but I did tell all of them, if there was something that they wanted to change or had any thoughts on it, please attend the meetings and make your voice be known.
Okay,
I don't care either way. I mean, as long as we can ask a question here or there about, hey, what did it say before? I'm fine. I don't care. I don't want to waste people's time either, you know?
and some of the department heads may say, yeah, I've seen it and I'm good with it. We just roll on along. You know, it may not, I don't want it to sound like it's going to be a big delay when it may not be anything at all. I just want to make sure they're included in the process. So then I guess the only topic that we're really at this hour thinking about is that we wait until we have the revisions made in terms of what was there once before, line item through, and then we restart to revisit this. And maybe it's not a bad plan because we've got so many people that's missing to start with. We barely had a quorum.
I got a question. Will you, did y'all have an extra copy of this? Because y'all don't have one.
Vic, you have extra copy of this, do you?
Oh.
That being the case, let's think for a second about when we would want to meet again as a group. Is there a night, I can only ask you for, and then maybe some of the department heads as well. Because even if you say it's fine with me, then we'll roll on. That's good. That's okay.
If you're gonna go to Tuesday night, 31st by now, or anything, maybe that would be 2.5 weeks later.
I'll be at Association of County Mayors Conference in Murfreesboro.
We
For
have to
Mr.
give,
Bella to be available, yes, because he has courts on Thursday.
we have to give Vicky time to incorporate this. This is what we had to do last time. Do you remember?
7th is, hearing committee and the services already, so, it's industrial development board, but that only gives them like less than 2 weeks. to
Yeah, that
try to
may
put
not be
this
enough
together.
time. Vicky,
Was only.
your thoughts on that?
I just looked at Tuesdays, my first look was Tuesdays, and
I'm sure
the
you're
31st was open, and Monday night, the 30th is open also. Will you be here on Monday, or are you
Could.
going to
The
that?
conference goes from August 30th to September 1st.
Okay, Okay. The 7th, like I say, is steering committee emergency services already. Labor Day, of course, is the 6th. You get into the 7th, that's there again. 14th, is nothing but the election commission, which that shouldn't affect any of us, I don't think. And you've always got,
Would this be for public comment? 'Cause I'm
So
not-
far as Industrial Development Board goes, we don't have any active business for the next meeting. I can cancel that meeting if you would like to take that slot.
What day was that on?
So
that
fourth,
was, the
That's the
24th.
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 Mhm.
Let's back up then.
But that, there again, like I said,
Yeah.
it gives him less than 2 weeks to make these changes. And with Amy being out, I don't know who would be actually doing it. Vicky, you, Mayor, or Amy,
Be,
or
most
who?
likely be Vicky and myself.
You know, there's another thought too. We were not anticipating getting through the entirety of this tonight anyway.
Or,
We were not thinking about getting through the entirety of this.
Oh, no,
tonight
no,
Anyway, so
no.
maybe we could just get so far down the road.
yeah,
Well, a lot of this stuff right now, I can tell you what the changes were. And then we can send you the version later. Just like this first section 1, there's only one change and it's not, it changed any language that was there before. It's an addition of something that wasn't there.
and I mean, the 30th, the 31st, even if the mayor can't be here, if it's, the changes are here, Vicky would be here to tell us the
That's
reason
correct.
behind them. By then, maybe Amy would be back. I mean, if that's okay. I don't care. I was just trying to see what was open, in
Okay.
the next few weeks. 21st is open right now of September. There's nothing on that Tuesday. The 14th, you could do that Tuesday. If you want to stay with Tuesdays, that's 4 weeks from tonight.
How's everybody's calendar looking on the 14th? Yes? Are you good with that? Corey?
I think that would give plenty of time for everybody to go over
14th.
these that haven't looked at them and for them to make those changes.
6 o'clock, okay with that? Department heads, that okay with you too? 14th, 6 o'clock? Well, let's book that. 14th September, 6 o'clock, Tuesday night. Vicky, that gives you, okay, good. So we're all set there.
4 weeks.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna hold off on line item C until the 14th of September. We'll pick up that topic. There's listed here the compensation study, but as I had spoken with the mayor about this prior, he would like for the ability to have people that were involved in that process to be able to talk about that in depth. That's still correct?
Yes, they want to speak and help answer any questions and help structure. They know there's probably going to be changes and they can incorporate that as you talk about it and give more feedback on how they came up with the structure and all that. But we just got to work it out with their schedule.
Okay. So we will be scheduling that one as well. Probably not don't need to do that same time, but we'll tackle that in short order.
I would go ahead and try to look at 2 or 3 nights out.
Okay.
And so that they have dates that they could know that they could come, so that they have multiple.
Okay, so we've got the 14th down. What about the 16th? That Thursday? As a second meeting?
I won't be here.
You won't? And we ran into some of that last time too. It's hard to get 100% attendance anyway, but who else on the 16th would?
County
No.
attorney probably wouldn't be available.
Okay. He's not here tonight though. Okay. Everybody okay with the 21st? Mary Ann?
Where are you going?
I won't be here. I've got a conference that I've
Okay.
got to go to
Okay.
that Friday through the Wednesday.
21st, 14th and 21st,
I just have to get someone else to take me.
straw polling here. No, the 21st. That's 2. Okay. Okay, 21st at 6 o'clock. Be the second one.
And
All
that's
right.
gonna be the wage study. The people are gonna be here on the 21st at 6 to talk about the wage study, or is that we're gonna see if they can come that
I'll
day?
probably give them both dates and see which one's better for them.
Okay,
All right, so that's what we've got, the 14th and the 21st. We'll set those at the same time so we stay consistent. Line item number 5, public comments for this evening. Anybody like to speak? No public announcements. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Mr. Davis, I have a second. We don't have Steve Gary Walsh here tonight, I don't know. Have a second? Mr. Dickey, we are adjourned.